So it's been about 10 days now since the summer preview. And like I think many people, I was very surprised by how much stuff we got for Legions Imperialis. And I made a whole video about my reaction to the stuff that was released for the Horus Heresy and how underwhelming I thought that was, especially in comparison to how much stuff we got for Legions Imperialis. And I thought I'd talk specifically about the Legions Imperialis models today and how they'll function in the game and what they mean for the game in the future. And the first thing we have are the Mastodon super heavy assault transports. Okay, so this is a massive model. I love this the Forge World Black Book style art. I'm really glad that they are sticking with that, and looks like we got a heavy flamer, las cannon, and then the anti-aircraft array on top, plus the melta array in front. So this is a really neat model, a legendary Forge World kit from the original Horus Heresy Black Book days, and I think it's great to see that these are coming out in plastic. This is probably the only surprising thing for me in the release, out of the models anyway. And I definitely don't think I was expecting anything like this to be coming out anytime soon. I'm glad we're seeing it. I think the Astartes definitely have been in need of some super heavy armor. So this is going to give them a little bit more durability and definitely help them push up the table and seize objectives. Now, transports are a lot more viable than they were at the beginning of the game now that infantry's maneuverability has been curtailed by the errata, which I think was a great move for the game. It's made transports much more part of the game. Now, do I think necessarily that I'm going to want to purchase a super heavy transport and pile a bunch of tactical marines into it? I'm not sure. These are going to have a void shield, I believe, if I remember the lore correctly. They'll probably have a couple of wounds, but probably only two. It seems like knights have three, titans, scout titans have four, and I'm not sure they're going to blur the lines between these things. But maybe with a vehicle like this, they'll push it up to three wounds. I just don't know if it's going to have the durability to justify its point cost, which I'm sure is going to be pretty high. Void Shield is good, but only one. I'm not sure how much that's going to help. Let's see. So it does have anti-air, which will be useful to defend it as it moves up the table. And I think it'd be cool if it had some kind of demolishing ability with its Melta array to kind of push it up to a fortification and then disembark some infantry to clear that building out. The next thing we have are the Whirlwind and Scorpius missile tank squadrons. So I think these look really cool. I like how they are splitting them up. The Space Marine artillery is being split up into two different varieties, with the Scorpius being more focused on hard targets, while the Whirlwind is, it says it's for saturation fire, especially on units garrisoning structures. So I'm interested to see how they represent that in the game rules, probably with some kind of heavy barrage maybe, or ignores cover. And then the Scorpius obviously is just going to be more of maybe an anti-tank or without a trait weapon. So it'll be able to target multiple types of units. So I know the Astartes have been waiting for these for a while. So I think many players will be glad to see them. I'm not a huge fan of artillery in Legions Imperialis, and in fact in most war games. I think it's generally it's not handled, I think, very well in a way that is engaging for both players. I know maybe I should make a video about that. I know that may be a controversial statement. But yeah, I think it's good that we're getting these. As always, the models look great. I think the team's done a great job. I mean, chipping a tank that is, an inch or less in size is really a dedication to the art, and I commend whoever painted these figures. Next up is the Vindicator Squadron, and this is, I think, another kit that has been heavily anticipated. And again, neither this nor the Whirlwind kit is particularly surprising to me. I think we knew these were coming and just waiting for Games Workshop to release them. I'm not a big fan of the little dozer blades, but they look a little less silly than on the full scale kits for some reason. Um, Vindicator is just a standard demolisher cannon platform. I don't expect to see anything other than a AP -3 and demolisher on these weapons. They might have a pintle mounted bolter, yeah. So you'll have some point defense capability, I'm sure. And you got a tank commander hanging out in the cupola. So I think these are going to bring some much needed demolisher capability to the Astartes list. I can't off the top of my head name any other Astartes units that have a ranged demolisher capability. Obviously, the Leviathans have Wrecker, but so I think this is definitely going to help the Astartes combat infantry garrisoned in structures. Obviously, they have missile launchers. This will maybe give a little bit more diversity, a little bit more variety to our Astartes friends. Next up is the Cerberus Heavy Tank Squadron. So again, this is something I think we all knew was coming, but it's great to see. I think the Cerberus is going to be a great addition to the Astartes force. They have not really had much capability to directly defeat super heavy armor, other than getting very close with maybe the Sakaran Omega with its plasma gun. But still, you'd have to chew through the void shields. This neutron laser, if I'm remembering correctly, is really going to, yeah, neutron laser battery, is really going to give the Astartes some capability to defeat enemy Titans and super heavy vehicles. So, great addition. And then, of course, we're also getting the Typhon Heavy Siege Squadron. So, getting 4 of each of these in each kit, it looks like. Yeah. And so, again, this is going to have a heavy anti structure weapon. Of course, I'm sure it's going to be just as good against enemy vehicles and heavy armor. I would imagine this is going to be similar to the Storm Hammer, if I'm remembering my Baneblade variants correctly, with the Siege Cannon. So I would anticipate this to be a longer range, maybe AP4, AP -4, but we'll see. It might be AP -3 just with a longer range. So again, a much needed capability to deal with structures for the Astartes force. Now, this was the biggest surprise for me, the Liber Strategia. And it, I think, has ignited quite a bit of debate in the Legions Imperialis community for a couple of reasons. I'll talk about my thoughts first. And I think it's important to really take heed, pay attention to the wording of what the Warhammer community website says. So it's a 240 page supplement that collates, updates, and supersedes the previous army lists for all of the factions, essentially. So, what does that mean? Well, let's look a little bit further. In addition to all that, there are iconic formations such as the Iron Hands, Seeker Killer Clade, the Chthonian Headhunters subcohort, and so forth. With this and the core rules to the game, you have everything you need to build Legions Imperialis armies and use them on the tabletop. So some things we could take away from that, I think pretty clearly, are that there's, first of all, the rules are not being given a major rewrite, right? You're still going to need the core rules. The purpose for this book, as far as I can tell, is to gather everything together into one book so that somebody who's getting into the game can purchase this one volume and not have to cart around 3 expansion books in order to have everything. So I think this is a smart move for Games Workshop, because the game, I think, is still clearly popular. The game is still drawing new people into it, and purchasing 3 books plus the core rules is kind of an investment. Now, it says it's a 240 page rule book or supplement. So I would imagine we're going to see the army lists and the campaign material as well as the formations of legend. And that's going to give everybody an even playing field and allow the game to sort of move on. So this is a consolidation. I think some people have considered this a way for Games Workshop to really kind of put the game to bed and wrap it up and then just sort of abandon it. I don't agree with that. As I said at the beginning, I think this is more about consolidating in the sense of providing new players an easier pathway to get into the game. Now, of course, only time will tell, but uh, I just find it hard to believe with everything that's going on that Games Workshop would release something like this for the sole purpose of killing off Legions Imperialis. The one gripe that I do have about this is the cover, and I'm really kind of sad that they've chosen to go with the Saturnine model of cover. I think this is great for a plate inside the book, but as I said at the beginning of this video, I really like the Black Book's Forge World style of art for the covers that they've gone with so far. And I'm not sure why they've decided to deviate from that, maybe just because this is a different kind of book. But still, I hope that this is not the path that they choose to follow going forward. I don't think I have anything else to add about the Liber Strategia. It was a surprise, and hopefully, this means that we will see more campaign expansions in the future for Legions Imperialis. And then next we have the formations and datasheet cards. So again, some people were upset about this. I'm not sure quite why. I think this is once more just a way to collate everything so that a new player can easily purchase one thing and get into the game. Because as it is right now, you'd have to purchase several sets of cards. And if you just play Mechanicum, or you just play Solar Auxilia, or you just play the Legions Astartes, that is quite an investment because you're buying all these sets of cards and you're actually getting stuff that you don't need, right? If you just want to play Mechanicum, this is going to be a great way to purchase one set of cards and then you have everything you need, and you don't have to purchase card sets that include that 2/3 of which do not include material that you're interested in. Will there be major updates to the game? As I said when talking about the Liber Strategia, I don't think so. I think there may be points rebalancing. I think we've already seen some release, some photos that have. I think it's actually on this Terminator detachment here. There's been some rebalancing of points, so that is an encouraging sign. I think we'll see some points adjustments. Will there be major changes to the vehicle, the weapon types or anything like that? I really don't think so. I think this is just going to be a balancing set, and they're going to use the points to do that rather than changing the unit capabilities dramatically. And let's see, the last thing is the set for order tokens and objective markers. Now, this sort of mystified me. I mean, it's great that they're finally doing it, but to be quite honest with you, this should have come in the starter box. This should have been available on launch. And I really think that Games Workshop has sort of missed the boat with these. However, I do think it also lends strength to the idea that Legions Imperialis is doing well, and that this whole release is more about encouraging new players to get into the game than putting it to bed. Because this is an ancillary product, right? Why would you release an ancillary product for a game that you're trying to consolidate and cease putting out new products for? This is something that a new player is probably going to buy. Like, I already have order tokens for Legions Imperialis that I have purchased and that I actually prefer because they stand out more on the table. They're embossed, or they have the letters and the symbols engraved into them, and I used a white crayon, so they stand out very well on the table. And These, I mean, they're very nice. I like the sort of astrological designs they have on them, but they're very gray. And for me, I personally probably won't purchase these unless they're fairly inexpensive, and unless I see that they're more attractive than they appear in this photo. But for a new player, I think that this is great. It's a good way to get a set of order tokens and objective markers that look very nice. They're official. And I mean, this is a lovely symbol on the back here. So, again, I think these are a sign that the game is in a healthy place and that Games Workshop is planning to continue to support our game. The pack contains 92 markers and tokens, so I mean that's quite a few. So I think if you buy one of these, you'll be in good shape. Um, and that's about it for Legions Imperialis, guys. So I think on the whole, a very encouraging release. We got a book, several kits for the Astartes. It is a little disappointing that we didn't see anything for the Solar Auxilia or the Mechanicum, but I kind of think we're about at the end of the range for those two factions. Does that mean we'll see a new faction soon? I sort of feel like Games Workshop wants to have two at a time going. So the Astartes, of course, they have releases for, years. Will we see Demons, Sisters of Silence, Custodes anytime in the future? If the game is healthy, I think so. I think we may see them in maybe by the end of the year. But as far as maybe more realistic things, I think we will also see an Istvan campaign book and probably some additional material coming out over the next 6 months before the end of the year. What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, if you liked hearing my thoughts, please like and subscribe. That always helps the channel, helps us reach more people and grow the Legions Imperialis community and this game that we all enjoy so much. So I think that's it for this video, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.